must shine. She's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the riveter, keeps a sharp lookout for sabotage. Sitting up there on the fuselage, that little frail can do more than a male can do. Rosie, the riveter. Rosie's got a boyfriend, Charlie. Charlie, he's a Marine. Rosie is protecting Charlie, working overtime on the riveting machine. When they gave her a production knee, she was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue about Rosie.
The fuel tanker's rear end is completely different from the water tank truck. While the water tank truck has rear fenders, the fuel tanker has racks on both sides of the vehicle. They need support, and on the rear the support contains the taillights and reflectors. I built the support in 2 layers. The first layer is from 0.4mm plastic sheet in which I drilled 2 holes with a diameter of 4mm. That's where the taillights are mounted. The reflectors sit on the outer edges. The second layer is from 0.2mm plastic sheet. It wasn't really necessary, but I built a short piece of coil spring for the towing point. I used 1mm copper wire and wrapped 0.3mm copper wire around it. Well, it won't be visible, but I know it's there. I continued with building supports for the racks on the front end of the rear tank. To make sure they'd fit above the wheels, I built the rear suspension. Be careful when you build this or another Italia's GMC truck kit. The axles won't fit into the left-hand side's leaf spring, cause the location nuts are in the wrong place. You need to cut off the location pins on the axles to make them fit. Other than that, there weren't any fit issues. The axles on this kit represent the banjo type and are mostly correct. Since the vehicle will be put on a dyno, I didn't bother too much. If you want to depict the model with the split type axles, you'll have to build the differentials from scratch. As you can see, the wheels fit nicely beneath the scratch built support.
What do they say when they see me coming their way?
Nonetheless, I changed their shape, because on the photos they didn't look like I had built them.
In your bag, I'm draped to the bricks, mugging lightly, killing the chicks. J.J. Jackson, you're as sweet as a beat, with a freak in your seat. Pay no mind to the conversation with my nose in the air.
And a closer look 2 days later confirmed I was completely wrong. I removed what I had done so far and built this here. They're just mountings for the tanks, it's as simple as that. It's really worth it to look at pics properly and be sure about what they actually show.
Or with a belt in your back, a jack you sharp as a tack.
For this stage of the build I used 2 small pieces of 1.5mm plastic sheet, 1 piece of 0.5mm plastic sheet, a short piece of 0.6mm copper wire, and one of the kit's faucets. Of course a piece of plastic tube was necessary too. I sanded it thinner, from 2.4mm to 1.5mm. It's still a little overscaled, but more sanding would have meant I'd ended up with no tube at all. Here's what the assembled pipe looks like and how it's mounted to the chassis.
Hey, 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 good looking, say what's cooking, do you feel like booking some fun tonight? Hey, 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 good looking, if you're not already tooken, won't you meet me soon in the moonlight? Why don't we two go roaming where there's blooming, where the stars are combing the skies above. Hey, 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 good looking, giving and we'll begin cooking that delish little dish called love.
After assembling the axle, I added both leaf springs. One of them was already glued securely. Then I drilled two 0.6mm holes next to the area where the drum brakes are to be attached. I glued pieces of 0.6mm copper wire into these holes. After that I put on the drum brakes, or the pieces that represent them. I cut them off with my riveter saw after the glue had fully cured. The hinges are made from 0.5mm plastic sheet. Here's the assembled axle, but without the springs. I looked at the instructions several times to make sure the springs are attached to the axle correctly. Maybe I looked once too much because I did it wrong and had to cut the springs off. There was no other way to remove them.
Soon in the light of the moon, why don't we two go roaming?
All small parts of the axle had to be changed too, and I wanted to use the kids' parts. My good buddy Dan Nispel came up with another idea for the steering, and I like this idea very much. Here's the result. It really works.
Little dish called love. That delicious little dish called love.
Then I attached the front axle to the leaf springs. I used two pieces of 0.6mm copper wire to secure them.
All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line.
Next thing to do was building the actuator for the steering. It had to be workable too, so I was only able to use one original part. I built the other parts from scratch and drilled holes for some copper wire. The pieces were then hinged with the wire. The nuts were made from 0.5mm plastic sheet and glued to the least visible points. This is the completed assembly from various angles.
Riveting machine, when they gave her a production knee, she was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue.
My friend Bob Arnott will provide me with information on the wiring and plumbing of engine and gearbox. I appreciate Dan's and Bob's support very much. You find the links to their channels in the description box, and I'd be glad if you subscribe to them. Thanks a lot, guys.
Rosie, the riveter, Rosie, Rosie, Rosie.